Why have we come to earth? Do you remember? Why have we taken birth? Do you remember?
Good morning again. You know, it occurs to me there was one other thing I wanted to do during the announcements, and so I'm going to do it now. And it's something I've wanted to do since I've been here, and we don't seem to do it in this church, and it's probably the only church I've been in for a long time that doesn't. So it's to honor birthdays. It's to honor the day that you chose to arrive on this planet and appear on this planet. So I want to invite you to do is, if you've had a birthday so far this year, anytime in January, would you please stand? If you've had a January, first half of January birthday, great. And so perhaps we can join together in singing. Stay standing. By next week or next year, we'll have a gift card worth 10% off of a class or a bookstore item or something like that. But you're the early pioneers, thank you. So happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear beloveds. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for being here. So our theme today, we're of course going to be continuing to play with the idea of creating a world that works for all. And our theme today is there's only one life. Now we've heard that once before, right? Or twice before, or 3 times, or 100 times before. And yet, how many of us really get that? Okay? And so that's the dance. Can we get that at a deeper level? You know, I'm still working on it. We're all still working on it. If we all got it, this world would be a transformed place. And so it's the dance we're working on. The Ernest Holmes quote we start with is, we see all people, all beings and all life as expressions of God. Yeah, even that one. Even that person, even that group, even they are expressions of God. Okay? And so it's our dance, it's our challenge, if you will, to see each of us as God. And there are some people that make it more challenging, aren't they? Have you noticed? You know, today the Carolina Panthers and I are not one with God, because the Seahawks are playing them today in a football game. They're one with God too, just as much. We have all sorts of people who challenge us, and yet can we see them as God? We don't have to agree with them. We don't even have to like them, but can we still see them as God in form? And that's our dance, that's our challenge. And that's the, if we just took that as a spiritual practice for the rest of the year and went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper with that, we would transform our own lives, all of our relationships, and start to transform this whole community and probably the planet too. In the Beverly Hills Lectures, Ernest Holmes gives an example. He says, suppose each one of us goes out into an unknown country and works an acre of land. There are 250 acres, and each one will take an acre in the same land. There are not 250 different kinds of creative processes in the soil. There's only one kind of creative process common to the 250 acres. But we are people, so each one plants his plot the way he likes it. Then everything is different when it comes up, and people who say it say, here are 250 individual acres of land. There is no such thing, he says. There are 250 individualized plots of one creativity operating through this soil. Spirit shows up as the creative urge in all of life, but we get to choose how to use it. We get to choose what we create. We get to choose what we plant. Okay? We have that freedom of choice, which is both the good news and bad news of this teaching and of life. That we plant the seeds that grow in our lives. And some of them we like, and some we sit there and go, yeah. And we as a species, as a collective, plant seeds we like and plant seeds we sometimes don't like. And that's what we're looking at this particular year. And so we can plant seeds. We can also plant grumbling and complaints. Okay? Ernest says the world will bury us with our grumbles. There's a difference between planting and being buried, right? And the difference is what we expect as an outcome. When we bury something, we don't expect it to come back again, do we? Okay? If you've ever had a pet that you've buried, you don't expect that pet to come back and run around. When we plant a seed, when we plant instead of being buried, but when we plant, we expect life to come out of that. More life. And so what is it that we are planting, and what is it that we have the expectation of what comes next? So when I plant a seed, do I expect the result? Do I expect the result? See, this is one of the things we teach. We somewhere in the Science Mind textbook, Ernest says, we start off, there's only one God. Well, I hope there is. It's working for me. Well, I hope it does. And that's not planting the seed. That's just kind of throwing it on the surface and hoping it'll grow. Planting the seed says, I have an absolute expectation that this that I plant is going to grow and is going to have a result and create a powerful result in my life. Okay? And then it's paying attention to what am I planting? What am I planting? Because the expectation of every spiritual teacher is that what I plant will produce a result. There's the Zen story that I've talked about a lot of times, the student who walks along with his master and says, what's the key to enlightenment? And the master says, attention. And of course the student gets frustrated with that and he says, what's the real, that's the first step, that's great, what else? And the master says, it's attention. The first step, the 100th step, it's all attention. Do we pay attention to how we are living, to what we are planning, to what we are thinking? My friend Andy Anderson has a song that says, I'm always thinking, you're always thinking, but do we really think what we think about? Do we really think what we think about? What am I planting? And so once I plant that, I feed my seeds. I want to feed my seeds, and I want to feed them with healthy soil and healthy water. So spirit seeds, when we plant a seed from Spirit, when we get an idea from Spirit, come wrapped in passion. If you ever bought a seed, oftentimes it comes wrapped, right? Spirit seeds come wrapped in passion. Enthusiasm is the word entheos, God within, broken down. When I consider the world, when I look out, what am I passionate about? What is it that is calling me with passion? And will I follow that passion? That is the Spirit seed trying to express through me, will I plant it? Will I say yes to it? If I'm passionate enough about it. And sometimes passionate enough looks like I'm really ticked that this is happening in the world. Okay? That's a great start for saying, and what I really would like to see happen is this. And this is what I'm passionate about. I was talking with somebody this morning who said that they started off their morning listening to Donald Trump. I'm not going to get into politics, but that might not be quite the best way to start off your morning. Let me put it this way. If you're not in alignment with what Donald Trump says, that's not the best way to start off your morning. If you like what Donald Trump says, that's a great way to start off your morning. Let's just leave it there so we don't offend anybody. But if you're angry about what any of the political candidates is saying or doing, then there's a point of passion there that says, what I really want to have happen is this. And am I willing to follow my passion and start to help to create that happening instead? Or do I just sit there and go, oh, that person's a jerk? There's a difference, you see? Am I willing to follow my passion and start to do it? Yesterday we had a wonderful leadership team meeting, and several ideas came out of it. But I noticed that not a whole lot of people stood up and said, and I'm going to make that happen. I will take responsibility for creating this in this church. And so there's a difference between I have an idea and I'm willing to make it happen. You know, Martin Luther King, who we honor this weekend, said, I have a dream, and then he went out and worked on that dream. He marched. He got thrown in jail. He put up with all the stuff. He followed the dream. He did something. He planted a seed and continued to nourish it and grow it. So do we take the seeds that are wanting to be birthed through us and plant them and actually do something about them? It's one thing to have a dream. It's another thing to actually say, and yes, I'm willing to put myself behind that with time, money, energy, whatever it takes. So where do I feel called to activate the one mind? There's only one mind. If I'm not activating it, I'm sleepwalking through life. We're studying creative process in the individual right now, Thomas Troward's book. And he talks about that the universe just continues to operate, and each of us introduces what he calls a personal factor, which is myself. What is it that I want? My own uniqueness into this individual process. What do I want to create out of that process? What is my unique beingness that wants to express? One of my ministerial friends talks about that we have a fascination in our society with zombies right now. Have you noticed? And it may be because there's a part of us that's resonating with the zombie part of our own lives and is afraid of that. How are we zombieing, sleepwalking through life? Will we be alive? The wonderful Christian mystic Teilhard de Chardin says, joy is the infallible sign of the presence of God. Where am I living in joy? Where am I expressing and experiencing joy? And if I'm not activating the God thought that's within me. If I'm just kind of blankly walking through or it's okay, life's okay, I'm not activating the joy of life. I'm not living my passion. I'm not listening to the passion that wants to come through me. And if we're not living in joy, we're not expressing our God nature. So when I look at the world, where do I want to plant greater joy? What would give me great joy to plant? Okay? And we tend to bury our joy. Have you noticed? We tend to bury our joy. We tend to bury our passion. You know, we've been told since we were young, you know, keep it down. Don't be too big. You know, I was reading an interview with Sarah Blakely. Sarah Blakely is the founder of anybody know? Spanx? Okay, garment wear. Okay. She had a father who, when she was young, her father was a trial lawyer, and when she was young, he would ask she and her brother, what have you failed at this week? Kind of in a not healthy way, as far as from what I understand. But eventually she decided to succeed at something. She founded this company, we'll talk about it in a minute, and she became the youngest female billionaire ever. Okay? If I'm burying my joy, I'm living in my past failures. I'm asking myself, well, who am I to be brilliant, magnificent, all that stuff? You know the Marianne Williamson quote. Okay? And the answer is, who are you not to be, of course, as she says. We're living in these past failures, we're carrying them around with us, and we're creating our future out of our past failures. We bury our joy because we don't know how to express it, and because we don't know how, we don't even bother to start. Trust me, Martin Luther King did not know how to bring racial equality into this planet when he started that dream. The Wright brothers did not know how to bring flight when they first started with the idea of creating an airplane. They learned along the way with quite a few crashes in the process, just like Martin Luther King and the whole racial equality movement has had crashes in the process. And we're still learning, all of us are still learning how to do that. We don't know but because we don't know the how, we won't, at the start, we won't even bother to start instead of saying, I don't know the how, but I'm willing to start and learn on the job. Okay? None of us who are great pianists knew how to play the piano when we started. We had to start with Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star played badly. Right? We say that we don't have enough time. We say that we don't have, that we're too old. And so we bury our future, we bury our desire, we bury our passion. And so what are the expectations that we have? Are we expecting success, or are we expecting failure? Are we expecting something new, or are we just expecting the same old, same old, same old, same old, same old, same old? That's the sacred cows that reading was talking about. As long as we're going around with our sacred cows and we're not willing to make hamburger out of them, and from what I'm told, they make great hamburger. Thank you. There's a book that title, by the way, Sacred Cows Make the Best Burgers. Okay? Sarah Blakely built Spanx while she was selling fax machines door to door. That's what she was doing. J.K. Rowling, you ever heard of her? Wrote Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter book. Took her 7 years to write the first Harry Potter book. During that time, her mom died. She had her first baby. She and her husband divorced, and she was living on state benefits in near poverty. And by the way, Harry Potter was conceived on a delayed train. She was stuck on a train that was delayed between Manchester and London, and while she was stuck there came the idea. So if you're ever sitting, we don't get a whole lot of traffic jams here, okay? But if you're ever sitting, maybe just in a line at the grocery store, God, I wish this line would move faster. It's like, maybe you could use your mind going, okay, I've got this time. What do I want to create? The interview with Sarah Blakely said that most of her ideas were created while she was driving or, I believe, showering, those two things. She lived 5 minutes from work. She would actually take her commute and make it a half-hour commute by driving around just to take the time to have that creative process. And she said she actually created, when she finally built her own offices, a commute room in her offices. So she could go and simulate a commute so she could have that experience, because it was her way of being creative. Where's your passion? Express it. Be wild, be playful, be proactive. Get outside the box. All of us have boxes, right? Are we willing to get outside the box and play? That's where the ideas come from. That's where the success comes from. That's where the passion and joy lives. Have you noticed? Kids are outside the box, right? Little ones. I saw we had a little one walking around here somewhere earlier. I don't know where that one is, but she's outside the box right now. And so are we willing to let our little kid out and go play outside the box? And the world gets better as you express your spirit, your joy, and your passion. The world gets better. Your world gets better. We feel better when we're playing with that. Even just right now, you're thinking about it. Do you feel better? That was a question. Yeah, that was not a rhetorical question. Okay? A little piece of bad news, or just news. You will meet opposition as you express your passion. Okay? You'll meet it internally. All that stuff that we were trained on. We don't need our parents around anymore because we've adopted their voices and we've added them as our own, right? And so we do our own abusiveness for our parents, thank you very much, or our own put-downs that our parents used to do. We just take it on for ourselves. Okay, there's a whole lesson in that, by the way. Let go of that. You should be your own best cheerleader. We have internal opposition and we have external opposition from other people who get triggered by, if you live too far out loud, they're going to get triggered, okay? Because it's going to trigger the fact that they're not living out loud and in full out. And they're going to get mad, and the first thing they'll do is try and put you down. There's a pattern. If you take a bunch of live crabs and put them in a low pot together, if one starts to climb out, the others will grab it and pull it back in. Okay? And so some of us need new crabs as friends. Michael Becker says the mind of mediocrity opposes the mind of excellence. The mind of mediocrity. The mind that wants to keep everything stable. Everything the same. Keep calm. Chive on. Wants to oppose, or keep calm and eat chocolate, as sitting outside my office right now. It says, just keep it down, don't get too excited. All of that wants to keep us down, wants to say, don't live your passion. And so not everyone's going to see what you see. You have a vision. The Wright brothers had a vision of flight. Not everybody could see that. Sarah Blakely, when she was trying to sell her idea, first of all, realized that all of the pantyhose and women's undergarments in the country were designed, created, and produced by men who never used the products and didn't know how to, anything about them. So when she and her mom helped her out with that, and a couple of women friends started doing it, they started redesigning some aspects of the whole women's undergarment and support garment, how it was done and how it was made, because nobody had ever done it before. And a whole lot of people said, "Oh, we're not going to do that. We don't want to, we don't want to take that on." Nobody wants that. Okay? And finally, she got Oprah to take it on. And Oprah says she doesn't wear anything else but that since those days. That was in, I think, 2000 or 2001. She went on QVC channel and within the first 6 minutes sold 8,000 pairs. Got that? 8,000 pairs. And within a couple of years, she was a millionaire. That's how fast an idea, when it really goes, can go. But you will meet opposition, you have to overcome it. I think it was Colonel Sanders who had something like 9,000 no's before he finally got somebody to say yes to his fried chicken recipe, to joining him with producing that. Okay? So follow your passion anyways. You're going to get the no's. Follow your passion anyways. Because if it's your passion, if it's true to you and you know it's true, then the universe is looking for it. And it takes a while to perhaps find the place to plant it where it's really going to thrive and grow, but the universe is looking for it, and if you quit, the plant dies. Okay? Your consistent spiritual practice, what you do every day, will support you in the process of knowing what's true for you and of following your passion. And so that's why I encourage you to do that consistent daily spiritual practice. Do your prayer, do your meditation, do your service, do your giving, do all that process. You hold the vision, listen to your intuitive voice, and listen to your passion, and bring it out and take a step towards it every single day that you can. There's only one life. I want to close with a story. And you've probably heard of Malala Yousufzai. Some of you may have. She's a teenage Pakistani girl who was shot and seriously wounded by the Taliban because she supported education for girls. When she addressed the United Nations on her 16th birthday, speaking for herself and her friends, she said, "They thought that the bullets would silence us, but they failed. And out of this silence came thousands of voices. The terrorists thought that they would change our aims and stop our ambitions. But nothing changed in my life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born." Last week I talked about that sometimes it's under the heat and the pressure, sometimes when we're being opposed the most, that we develop the strength to actually work through that. In fact, that's true for everything. The butterfly coming out of the cocoon has to have that wrestling match with the cocoon. Scientists have tried, cutting them out early and seeing if they can release it, and the butterflies will die because they don't have the strength to survive. So we need this opposition. We need this process. So if you're getting opposition, you can just sit there and go, "I'm building muscles. I'm getting stronger, and I'm going. This passion, this idea of mine, is building." It's a good sign. So when Christine Amanpour interviewed Malala, she asked if she feared for her life, because the Taliban still wants to kill her. Malala's reply was, "The thing is, they can kill me. They can kill Malala. But it does not mean that they can kill my cause as well. My cause of education, my cause of peace, and my cause of human rights. My cause of equality will still be surviving. They can only shoot a body, but they cannot shoot my dreams." At age 17, she became the youngest Nobel Prize winner ever. Will we follow our passion that deeply? Will we understand that our passion, oftentimes the idea that we are passionate about, is greater than we are? We have to involve other people, and it will outlive us. Will we plant the seeds that may grow later on? So I invite you this week to listen. What is my passion? What is it that is my joy? What is it that is calling and has been banging at my door for a long time to be released, and will I say yes to it? It may seem like it's a small, inconsequential thing. Oh, but I just had this idea. It won't change the world. But how do you know it won't change the world? You don't know where that idea will go. They recently they reintroduced, I think it was 12 wolves into Yellowstone Park. And out of reintroducing 12 wolves into Yellowstone Park, not only did the whole environment change, even the course of the rivers, which had been changed because of overgrazing by the caribou, returned back to their original path. 12 wolves caused rivers to change their path. Nobody had that expectation. Nobody even suspected that would happen. You have no idea what the idea that is trying to come through you can do in this world. Will you plant your seed? Thank you. So let us move into prayer. I know that there is only one life. There is only one mind. There is only one power in this universe. And that infinite presence, we call it God, we call it Allah, we call it the Tao, we call it Spirit, we call it whatever name it is beyond all the names. That infinite presence is all that there is. There is nothing else but that presence. And we are one of it because we cannot exist outside of the infinite. And so I recognize and speak my word that infinite mind that is expressing in, through, and as each of us, that each of us says yes to that idea, those ideas that are looking to be birthed through us. We know what they are. We've been suppressing them in some cases for decades. But we finally say yes to the seed. It does not matter how long we've been pushing them down. Principle is not bound by precedent. Spirit doesn't care how long we've been saying no. As soon as we say yes, it activates that presence right there, right now. And right there and right then. And so we say yes to this idea. We say yes to our passion and joy. If we don't even know what that is, we simply say, yes, I am willing to know what my passion and joy is. And begin to be the place that makes it welcome. Begin to be the place where that seed germinates and begins to grow. Even if I don't know how, even if I don't know where it's going, I am willing to be that place. I'm willing to be the place that says yes to my spirit and its desires to grow, to express, to be fully manifest, to be fully alive. I say yes to that. And so I know that each and every person, as we say yes to this, is blessed in the process, grows with the seed in the process, blooms and blossoms into a greater and greater and greater expression and experience of life and of joy and of love and of harmony and of wholeness, because that is the attribute of spirit. And so for this, and for each person who says yes and is willing to be that place where it actually happens, I'm ever so grateful. For the spirit that moves through all of us, I'm ever so grateful. And in this space of gratitude, I release this word into the law that knows exactly how to move each of our ideas, each of these seeds, into form, into expression, to allow them to blossom at their own pace, at their own way, in their own beauty. This law knows how to do it. And so we turn it over to that law. We simply say yes and let the law begin to work through us. And it does so. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you.